It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You are knowing what you are wanting. An evolving thing. You are looking forward to taking thought beyond that which it has been before. You are understanding that this leading edge gathering has never been before into all of the universe. And that which you are about and that which we are about, that which whoever's calling is about, we are on the leading edge together, aren't we? Are you appreciating the contrast? We always like to ask a question, hear your answer, and then get the real answer from your vibration. And we find a room full of liars here. Liars. Well, you mean well. You want to appreciate contrast, don't you? Because you are coming to realize that the contrast causes you to focus. You just can't be standing in the middle of anything without clarity of what is wanted being born out of it. It happens every time, doesn't it? The contrast just causes you to focus. And that focusing is not necessarily something that you could speak accurately about, necessarily, not necessarily, maybe, but not necessarily. But the focusing is preferences are just being born within you. You just can't be in any environment without coming to your own selfish, and we mean that in the very best of ways, your own selfish, because self is the only perspective from which you can see, your own selfish perspective, you just cannot help but conclude what would be better for you. And the wonderful thing about that is that it's not just you, leading edge genius consciousness in this physical human form. It's all consciousness, the cells in your body, the one-celled organisms. Every point of consciousness has a perspective of self which is living an experience which is causing a vibrational conclusion. And the most wonderful part of all about that is that when this leading edge perspective or consciousness, even when it is you, comes to a conclusion, even if you don't speak it with words, you offer a vibration and source energy agrees with your new conclusion. That's what the evolution of all species is about. Did you hear the power of that? In more layman's terms, we've been saying to you for a while, in fact, wrote a book about it, that when you ask, it is always given. The creative process has 3 steps. The first step is ask. Well, ask comes easily because you're always in an environment which causes the preference or the desiring or the asking to emanate from you, whether you speak about it or not. Step 2 is source answers. And step 3 is you must be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. So we want to go back for just a moment to this step 1 and step 2 of this process, which happens without your conscious awareness of it. The universe is so magnificently established that here you are, born into contrast. The contrast inspires you to prefer something, and Source is so aware of the genius of your perspective and of the perfection of your being the one in the place who should know best of all what it is that would be better for you, that Source unquestioningly agrees with it. So it works like this. The contrast causes you to prefer something, and Source immediately says, yes, we agree. And so there is this strong signal coming from Source about your new desire. Now, the reason that we are making such a big point about this is because, well, a number of reasons. We don't think you're really getting it yet, and we want so much for you to get it that when you ask, it is given. So we're just going to come at it from a lot of different directions because we want you to understand that when you ask, it is given, but we also want you to understand the basis of your emotional guidance system so that you are able to quantify your journeys, so that you can tell where you are in relationship to everything you want. As Jerry and Esther are traveling across the desert from Phoenix to San Diego, the journey is understandable. They know. Head west and keep going and you'll get there. There's no big concern about it not happening. But when you see you on your journey from sickness to wellness, we see you getting lost often. You get nearly all the way there, vibrationally speaking, and that's important to understand because 99% of every creation is complete vibrationally before the physical evidence begins to show itself to you. So you're well along the way to the money that you want. You're well along the way to the recovery that you want. You're well upon the way to the relationship or the relationship improvement that you want. But because you don't see the signs yet in manifestation, you don't realize that you're nearly there and you freak out about Yuma and turn around and go back to Phoenix. And what we're wanting you to understand is that if you had a way of quantifying your journey, of understanding your journey, so that you could feel you were on track even though the manifestation had not occurred yet, then you could get all the way to the manifestations without going Phoenix Yuma, Phoenix Yuma, Phoenix Yuma, Phoenix Yuma, Phoenix Yuma, and then proclaiming to anyone who will listen that San Diego is an elusive dream. You just can't get to say, I just can't get there from here. And we say, you can get anywhere from anywhere. You can get anywhere from anywhere. You just got to figure out the only two things that matter to get anywhere from anywhere to anywhere, and that's the two places. Where are you and where do you want to go? So those two places, those 2 points of vibrational relativity are essential to understanding your guidance. Jerry and Esther have navigational systems in their vehicles, 3 different kinds now, Magellan in one vehicle, Pioneer in another, OnStar in another, but they all work on the same premise, which is the machine and the satellites in the sky know where they are. And then they program in their desired destination, and then the system calculates the route between where they are and where they want to be, and gives them verbal, sometimes visual and verbal description of how to get there. Magellan never says to them, where have you been? Where were you yesterday? I need to know where you were yesterday before I can tell you how to get from where you are now to where you are going. That's silly, isn't it? Magellan never says, you asked me yesterday, you didn't listen to what I said, so I'm not going to tell you again. Magellan is operating on the premise of 2 points of relativity. Where are you in relationship to where you want to be? And your own emotional guidance system operates on the same premise of 2 vibrational points of relativity. So what are the 2 points? The first point is, you've been banging around in contrast, you've launched a rocket of desire, I prefer this, you said, and Source said agreed, and that's 1 point. In other words, so right now, Source is in absolute agreement with who you have become. Now maybe we need to back up a little bit so that you'll really understand that. Do you know that you are extensions of Source energy? Do you know that you are that which you call God here in this physical body on the leading edge? So does it follow to you that when you have an experience and your experience causes you to want something, that is Source energy expanding through your life experience? So as you have an experience and you want something, Source went where you want to be. That's 1 point of vibrational relativity. The only question now is, what are you doing on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment, belief basis in relationship to where Source went for you? Do you know that when you have an experience that causes a desire to be born, you've got to get up to speed with that desire if you are ever to be really complete with who you have become? You are Source energy in a physical body, and as Source energy in this physical body, you've launched all kinds of rockets of desires that you're not living up to. And you can tell you're not living up to them because you feel annoyance or irritation or doubt or fear or blame or despair or anger or revenge or rage or discouragement or overwhelmment or disappointment. In other words, you feel all of these negative emotions, which are your indicator that your desire and your Source and who you really are is over here, and you're somewhere else in relationship. Your emotional guidance system works by giving you visceral feedback about the alignment or misalignment of you with you. So when you feel joy, your thought in that moment is so in alignment with your Source's thought in that moment about whatever you're thinking about, that you are one signal being offered by you, and one who is connected to Source is more powerful than millions of humans who are not. When you get vibrationally up to speed with who you are and what you want, you are powerful. And those watching you think you're magic. It just says we're in the zone. Because all kinds of wonderful things. It seems that seas are parting, doors are opening, help is always there. In fact, she notices that solutions come before she even knows she has a problem. In other words, when you get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're asking and receiving answers so quickly that there is no gap between what you're asking for and what you're receiving. And that's the way life is supposed to be for you. Now remember, when you ask, it is given. So, is not a problem an asking for a solution. So everything that you're living is just the calling of Source's resources in order to help you to achieve whatever it is that you are wanting. There is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. You are genius creators in the best environment that we've ever seen, ever, anywhere. You are on the leading edge of thought. And this gathering is about helping you to quantify your journey, to understand your emotional guidance system, so that on every subject that is important to you, not to anybody else, important to you, you can close the vibrational gap. You can become one who vibrates in alignment with what you want, not with where you are. Can you imagine Jerry and Esther get in their vehicle? They program the desired destination. Magellan says, go this way. And they say, no, we think we'll stay right where we are. Magellan, if Magellan were a reasoning being, would say, then what is the point of giving me your new destination? If all you planned on doing was looking around where you are and staying right where you are, it seems pointless to even have a new desire. But you know what? You can't not have a new desire. You can't hold your desires back. You can't withdraw your attention from what you're living enough to keep source energy from intending through you. You can't stand still. Esther felt a new desire burst out of her in an unexpected way not too long ago. And she said to Jerry, uh-oh. He said, what? And Esther said, it's happened, and now we have to keep up with it. In other words, Esther has come to understand, and so has Jerry, many of you also, that if your life experience gives birth to something that is new, you've got to keep up to speed with it, because the source that is you went there. And if you don't go there, then there is vibrational difference between where you are. And you feel restless, you feel uneasy, you feel unfulfilled, you feel unsatisfied. In other words, you've got to stay up to speed with who you are. There is no going back. This is a leading edge environment. You were not sent here by someone who is perfect in order to figure out what they did that made them perfect so that you can be perfect. There is no perfect in the sense that there is endedness. If you could be perfect, you would be finished. And if you could be finished, you would be dead in the way that there is not dead. You are the leading edge of source energy, and you are here in this environment to be inspired to the new idea. And source is so sure that you know better than anyone else. In other words, what is better than that self-empowered awareness of what is wanted and then that personal alignment with it? You think it would be better to have some outside governing body watching out for you? Let's think that one through. Instead of taking care of myself, I will sit and wait for the government to come and get me. And we say, anytime you are waiting for someone else, they're overwhelmed with the needs that you have. Where when you are individually requesting, source is individually answering. And when you are in alignment with the answers, then you are thriving. But when you are waiting for someone else to figure it out for you, and you're not doing anything about your vibration, it cannot come to you. Because nothing can buck your current. You are offering a vibration that law of attraction is matching. And whatever is manifesting in your life is a perfect reflection, an exact replication of your vibration. But sometimes we think, we see you. You're offering vibrations that you don't know you're offering because you've not been trained early on. Some of you are getting it now, to pay attention to the way you feel. Most do not have any real sense of their own emotional guidance system. And it's kind of funny as we visit with you to realize how far removed most humans are from the precept, from the premise that your emotional guidance system is based on, which is good feels good. Somehow you got sort of crossways of that, and we'll talk about that later if you want to. But it's really remarkable to us that you are sometimes not knowing that you can beat the drum of something that feels awful when you beat it and expect something good to come out of it. And so the way we would like to express it to you is that in every moment you are a vibrational offerer. It's like a constant spewing of vibration as long as you are conscious and awake. So that spewing of vibration is emanating from you, and law of attraction is responding to the vibration, just like radio signals. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. The frequencies have to match up. You never set your tuner and then demand that the radio station of your choice come to your frequency. Instead, you adjust your frequency to match whatever the transmission is. So we're wanting you to understand that with creation, You have launched a rocket of desire, which is the transmitting frequency, and you've got to tune your tuner to the same frequency in order to come into vibrational alignment with it. And when you do, whatever it is that is your desire, with no exceptions, will find a way of making itself to you and you to it. In other words, it is law. Law of attraction will bring you together.